All right, what's up, everybody? Ron Placone here. We are very late. I am late today. I wish I could say it was because I had a crazy night and slept in, but it's not. I actually had a personal matter that I woke up to that I had to deal with. Everything's fine. Yeah, wasn't anything major. Just something I had to attend to right away. So we're a little late. I got on as soon as I could, but I'm going to start. It's April Fool's Day. I kind of had, I basically played an April Fool's Day prank on myself, not knowing it. That's what I did. That's how I started my morning. I played an April Fool's prank on myself. But, yeah, April Fool's Day is one of those situations where it makes me, it reminds me how much older I am. Because I used to take April Fool's Day so seriously. That was like my thing. And I would play pranks. I never played any mean ones, but I would always do something. I always would tell somebody something. I would make something up, and it would just be kind of ridiculous and out there, and I would run with it. And I always dug it. And then after about high school, it just kind of fizzled out for me, and I stopped it. I didn't do it. I remember occasionally I would have like kind of those pranks that like over the years people just sort of decided as a collective, don't do that. You know what I mean? I'll give you for instance, like one time an ex told me she was pregnant. That's not, and I think people mutually decided that's not an okay thing to do. Like, that's not that's bad karma. That's not, you don't prank that. That's not cool. But I've had that done to me before. Now, I, of course, knew it was an April Fool's prank right away. So I put it back on her, and I was like, well, there's no way it's mine, because I've done the math. There's no way it's mine. And she's like, what are you talking about? It could totally be yours. And I was like, no, it's for sure not mine. And also, I am infertile. Like I made a bunch of stuff up on like how I was like sure it wasn't mine. And then she goes, "It's an April Fool's joke." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not funny, by the way." I was like, "I know it's an April Fool's joke. I know what day it is, but that's not an okay thing. I hope you're well. Thanks for saying hello, but that's not an okay April Fool's joke. Just so you know, not a cool thing to do." Don't tell somebody you have an STD if you don't. That's not. And I know people have done that. And then over the years, people have been like, that's not. There's other April Fool's jokes to play. And I'm not trying to be the April Fool's joke police here. But come on, it's not funny, first of all. And it's bad karma is what that is. It's really bad karma. I had a pretty good one in 5th grade. So this ties into Music Monday, which, by the way, we got a fun Music Monday story about Robert Smith of The Cure. But on one time in 5th grade, there was this magazine that used to come out. I don't know if it's still in existence, to tell you the truth, but it was called Musician's Friend. And the way Musician's Friend worked, this is like pre-internet, basically, or at least pre the internet as we know it today. This was when the internet was first kind of getting started. But, print magazines were still popular, and catalogs were still very popular. So there was this catalog. It was a nationwide thing called Musician's Friend, and it was basically just a magazine that had all kinds of amazing music equipment in it, and you could order it. And they had everything. I mean, they had a section dedicated to guitars, a section dedicated to basses, drums, keyboards, recording equipment, DJ equipment. You name it, Musician's Friend had it. And it was awesome. Musician's Friend, I would get it every month, and I would look at it, and me and my friends would look at it, and we would point to stuff, and we would circle stuff, and it was all shit that we could not afford. But I had my goofy little garage band, and we would circle PA systems that we fantasized about having. We were like, God, if only we had this PA system, you could actually hear the vocals when we practice. Because what we used to have to do, because our microphone was just attached to a shitty little amplifier, and our guitars were in other shitty little amplifiers, and our drummer had a fucking drum set, so that was loud. What we used to have to do is we would play our goofy punk songs, which whether we were in the verse or the chorus, it didn't really matter. As long as the drummer was going, we were good. That was all we needed. Just the drummer go. So what I would do is I would raise my hand when the song was over. And that's how we knew the song was over, because we could not hear my vocals. So that was how we would do it. We were a very, God, I think about that and I'm like, God, we had a fuck of a work ethic. We really wanted that so bad. We would, whenever the drummer's parents wouldn't let us rehearse in their garage because they were sick of us, what we would do is we would take the drum set a couple pieces at a time. And keep in mind, like, I grew up in Pennsylvania. Big fucking hills were everywhere. And the drummer and I didn't live, like, right down the street from each other. We lived a couple blocks away, and there were, like, 3 hills in between us. But nonetheless, we would take a wagon, and we had 2 wagons. We would load them up with as much drum equipment as we could. We would carry the drum equipment up to my parents' house, or whichever parents were going to let us rehearse, and we would just unload it one piece at a time. We would take the PA one piece at a time, load the wagons, carry them back up, unload it, set the shit up, and practice wherever we were allowed to practice. And then before we had a PA, we would have to, like, coordinate a thing where we would, I would raise my hand when the song was over. We would show up at open mics where we didn't realize you had to be over 21 to play. So they would turn us away. They would be like, you can't play. You're not over 21. Man. People don't like it. When you're under, like, when you're a teenager and you're young and you don't have your own place, it is hard as fuck being in a garage band. It's always hard as fuck being in a band. Being in a band is incredibly difficult. I don't know how anyone does it. I really don't. I mean, between figuring out rehearsal times with everybody and coordinating schedules, between finding a place to practice, between recording costs, equipment costs, if you want to tour, van costs, I don't know how anyone does it. I don't know how anyone is in a band today. Being a comedian is freaking, you just, there's a microphone, you're good. Your rehearsals are open mic nights. You just show up, you sign your name. And I'm not saying that's easy, it's not, but logistically, compared to being in a band, oh my God. So anyway, we would get Musician's Friend. That was the name of the magazine. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with it. We would page through that thing like motherfuckers. It was the coolest magazine in the history of ever. I circled all these guitars that I wanted but could not afford in a million years and did not deserve, quite frankly. Like, I was like, I want a Gretsch. That's a really good guitar. I was not worthy of one. I'm still not. So, the prank that I played on my friend... So Musician's Friend would do this thing where they would give away, you could enter to win, a rig. And if you won the contest, you could pick between 3 different rigs, either the guitar rig, or the keyboard rig, or the drummer's rig, the bass rig, or the recording/DJ rig. And it just had a fuckload of equipment. Like, it had multiple guitars. If you picked the guitar one, it had a bunch of guitars, amplifiers. All of them had recording equipment. Every single one had some recording equipment. They had tuners and picks, and that's not the fun stuff. The fun stuff is the multiple instruments they would give you. They would give you like 5 or 6 guitars. So they basically gave you about $30,000 worth of equipment, and you could enter to win this. So my prank that I played on my friend is I told him that I won. And I was like, hey man, I won a rig. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, my parents are freaking out because they're like, where are you going to put all this stuff? And they even told me, they're like, hey, look, some of the stuff that you don't know how to use or you're not ready to use, we can, like, sell it and we'll give you the money, like, just so it's not just taking up space and you don't have this stuff you're not able to use. And I told him that I was going to do, because at the time I was playing keyboard still and guitar. I was very poor at both, but was trying. And so I told him I was going to do a mix between the keyboard rig and the guitar rig, and they okayed that. So he actually responded with mild jealousy. Like he was like, "Wow, man, shit, that's crazy. I'm trying to get my parents to just buy me a bass, or I'm saving up money to buy a bass, and you got this rig." And I'm like, "I know, man, I won. But the cool thing is for the band, you know." And then eventually I broke it to him. It was an April Fool's joke. And he was actually mad. So he tried to get me back. But he was really bad at, like, at like, playing pranks, at bullshitting, I guess. He was bad at bullshitting. Because what he would do is he would go up to me and heuld be like, "Hey, da-da-da-da-da." And I'd be like, "Really?" And he'd be like, "No." And I'm like, you gotta carry it on a little bit, bro. Like, I was trying to coach him. I'm like, "Dude, if you want to do an April Fool's joke, first of all, you got an uphill battle because I know it's April Fool's Day and I played a joke on you first. So I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to do it." My April Fool's Day jokes got really good whenever AIM came about because I would just fuck with my friends nonstop on AIM on April Fool's Day. And here's the thing. I didn't pretend to be anybody else. I would just, like, message them really weird stuff. Like, I'd be like, "You know what, man, this is all just a lucid dream," or something like that. I would say something weird and just be like, "I can see waffles in the air." So it's just something bizarre. And they'd be like, "Ron, what the fuck are you talking about?" And I'd be like, "Ron is just an imaginary construct. You feel like you've known him your whole life. Did you ever really know him?" And they'd be like, "Ron, what the hell?" And then they'd call me. My one friend in particular, who was really fun to mess with because he was really gullible, he'd call me. He'd be like, "Ron, what are you doing? Like, what are you typing to me right now?" And I'd be like, "What are you talking about?" And he'd be like, "Ron," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm not even home, bro. Like, I'm not even, because this was like right when we all got cell phones. I'd be like, "I'm not even home," or I'd say something else, or maybe he'd call my landline, and I would just say like, "Oh, I'm in the basement. I'm not on the computer, or whatever. My dad's on the computer." That's what it was. Yeah, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. This was pre-cell phone, so it was still landline. But, only one person could be on the computer at once. This was the dial-up days. For anyone that doesn't know what any of this stuff is, Google it. Dial-up internet. It was this thing where the internet was shitty, and typically only one person could be on it at a time. Sometimes you couldn't even be on the phone if you were on the internet. You couldn't even do both. But I think we had 2 phone lines at my parents' house, so I could be on the phone and then someone else could be on the internet, but not, it's just one thing per person. So that happened. Like, I'd be like, "I'm not even on the computer. My dad's on the computer. He's doing some emails for work or whatever." I would just make up. I'm like, "Dude, I'm not even on the computer." And he'd be like, "No, you're messing with me." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe someone must be pretending to be me." And then as soon as we would get off the phone, I would keep fucking with him again. Anyway, so April Fool's Day, I don't do it much anymore, but it was a good time. But you know who had an amazing viral moment was Robert Smith of The Cure. Speaking of Music Monday. Now, Robert Smith, I'm a huge Cure fan. You guys know that about me. That's why I wore the t-shirt for today. And Robert Smith was trending on Twitter yesterday. Yesterday being Sunday. And I'll be honest with you guys. When I first saw Robert Smith trending on Twitter, I suspected I was worried. He's not, he's pushing 60 now, which is still very young by all accounts, but you never know. He's definitely enjoyed a lot of booze over the years. And, of course, my first thought was, "Oh, please don't tell me something's up with Robert Smith. Please don't tell me that, I really, that would really bum me out. That's someone who I'm a big fan of." And then I saw that it was something freaking hilarious and that Robert Smith is freaking awesome, something we all know. Basically, he had this moment where... So they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there was the ceremony, and they're walking around this red carpet situation. There was this lady there interviewing people, and she was super excited. She was very stoked, and a lot of people were giving her a lot of grief. I don't want to give her any grief, but, just to be totally just objective and honest, she was not the world's greatest interviewer. I mean, she just wasn't. She was not a very good interviewer. You kind of wondered, how did she get this gig? But typically red carpet interviews are not very good interviews. They're typically very just surface-oriented, shallow interviews. Who are you wearing? Stuff like that. So I kind of feel like if you're a good interviewer, you're unqualified for that job. Like, you should be a bad interviewer to get that job. Like, they should ask them. They were like, are you a good interviewer? And if you say yes, they should just be like, next. You know, like, it's supposed to be shallow and surface-oriented. Just like award shows in general, or just boring, mawkish, celebrity circle jerk situations. And Robert Smith and The Cure, like most real rock and roll artists, or real, you know, pop artists even, don't really give a hoot about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Cure in particular, because they know that the genre that they call home is so often overlooked by that organization. Post-punk, and that subgenre, you know, which I know is a wide umbrella, but the subgenre The Cure is mostly linked to is just such an overlooked genre. So I guarantee The Cure did not care that much about entering the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that was evident in the interviews. They were like, we're surprised. We're surprised. This is neat. We're kind of surprised we're here, but cool, we're here. So Robert Smith gets interviewed by this red carpet person, and she is geeking out. And a lot of people are giving her a hard time. I do think she was genuinely a really big Cure fan. So that's why I feel bad people are giving her. I'm like, look, it's a red carpet interviewer. You know, like, they're typically not very good interviews. Like, they're not supposed to be. Give her a break. I think she was a fan. I think she was kind of geeking out that it was Robert Smith. If I ever met Robert Smith in person, I'd probably have a hard time keeping it together, too. I'd probably freak out a little bit. I'd try really hard not to, but I would probably lose it a little bit and probably embarrass myself and probably just keep saying your music meant so much over and over again. And to the point where it'd be like, okay, I get that. Can you say another sentence? Are you okay? What's your fucking problem? That might be his response. You know, kind of like when I met Dick Gregory. Like, I just kept saying it's an honor over and over again. I said it's an honor about 487 times. I was holding my vinyl. I was clutching it for dear life. And he was like, do you want me to sign that, Ron? And I was like, yes. And then I was like, he knows my name. And then he signed my vinyl. And he's like, yeah, it's an honor for you. I get it. He's like, you're a comedian, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a comedian, but I should never touch a mic again. Because you're so much more important than I'll ever be. You're Dick Gregory. Holy fuck. And he's like, it's okay, buddy. And we took a picture. And, man, I still have that picture. So anyway, if I met Robert Smith, I think it would be a similar experience. I would just be like, it's so, what you do, it's just so, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me. Oh, man, one of your songs is tattooed on my arm. Ah! And then he'd be like, all right, dude, calm the fuck down. Are we taking a picture? What are we doing? I got shit to do. I'm Robert Smith. So anyway, this woman was interviewing him. Let's go to the article, shall we? We can go to the article. Boom. So The Cure established legend status over the weekend. No Yahoo News. No Yahoo News. All right. I didn't read this article beforehand. I just wanted an article about the topic. Let's just go ahead and say this sentence sucks, right? The Cure established legend status over the weekend as the British band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Okay, Yahoo News. Let me issue a small correction. The Cure is and has been a legendary band. They were just recognized by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, an organization that means very little when it comes to the overall circumference of rock and roll music. It should just be renamed the Pop Music Hall of Fame at this point, by the way. And The Cure does not need validation from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nor does anybody else for that matter. So let's just... Oh, they're legends now because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame said so. No, they're legends. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame finally caught up. They should have been in there years ago. They should have been in the first year they were fucking eligible. Yahoo, swing and a miss on that sentence. Let's see if they completely fail. All right, so here's what happened. What happened was... The interviewer, Cory Kagan, who I'm not familiar with, I'm not really familiar with who that is. And again, people are giving her a hard time. I'm like, come on, she was excited. I think she was a fan. Give her a break. But anyway, she's geeking out. They're calling it a gushy greeting. And she goes, "Congratulations, secure Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees 2019. Are you excited as I am?" And Smith, without a hint of emotion on his face, replied, "By the sounds of it, no." And that's what happened. He just was like, "Yeah, by the sounds of it, no. I don't think so." It was very British. It was very beautiful. It was very funny. And that particular clip went viral. And, there was a full interview after that, and it was not a great interview, but they had fun with it. She had fun with it. She's like, "Oh, maybe we need to get a few drinks in you." And Robert Smith went, "Oh, heaven forbid." And it was a fun interview. I watched the interview. It was funny. And some people, some people thought Robert Smith he was being totally fine. Like, he cooperated for a 10-minute interview. And I don't think he was trying to be mean to her or whatever. He just knew where he was. And he knew that it wasn't his cup of tea. And the British, so the cup of tea thing, huh? See what I did there? But he wasn't being mean to her. He wasn't condescending to her at all. He was just being him, He was just like, "No, by the sounds of it, no." Like, "I'm not as excited as you are," clearly. Like, he was just walking by. He was just like, "All right, whatever, we're here." And they acknowledged. They were like, "Yeah, I'm surprised we got in." He's like, "We've been eligible for a long time, and this is cool." It was a very diplomatic interview. He had fun with it. He poked fun at the situation a little bit. I don't think he was poking fun at her or having a laugh at her expense. He was just poking fun at the at-large situation. Like, she's like, "So, the new album," and he's like, "It's going to be the best thing we've ever done." And then he looked at his band, and he's like, "We need to say that, right? Like, that's what we need to say in a situation like this." He was having fun with the situation. And I think she was kind of self-aware, too. Like, she's like, "Yeah, I get it. This isn't, we're not in Mark Maron's garage." Which, by the way, I don't think, I don't know if Robert Smith has ever done Mark Maron's podcast. To my knowledge, I don't believe he has. And that is an interview that needs to happen. That interview really needs to happen. Maybe he has. If he has, please email me, because I got to listen to that. And admittedly, I used to follow Mark Maron's podcast religiously. I don't as much anymore. Not because I stopped liking it or whatever. I like it a lot. I just follow other things and, just kind of moved on or whatever, or just sort of, lost track of it. But that interview needs to happen if it hasn't already. Robert Smith needs to go on Mark Maron's podcast. So anyway, Robert Smith had a funny moment. It went viral, and it was just him and an interviewer. And it's always fun when you see music legends you like, and they just have this goofball interview where you just know they're kind of over it. But they're being diplomatic, and it's just really funny. Or they just don't give a shit, and they're completely checked out. The funniest thing that you can ever see in that regard is there's an NPR interview, or it might have been in a different outlet, but I think it was NPR. But if you YouTube it, you'll find it right away. And just YouTube the Sigur Rós interview. Just like YouTube, like Sigur Rós interview train wreck or something like that, and you see this interview with Sigur Rós where the interviewer just had no idea what they were getting into. And the band is just like they just look like, "What the fuck are we doing here?" And it is just hilarious, and it is a train wreck. The other reason I give a shout out to Mark Maron's WTF podcast here. So, a notorious difficult interview to get through is Jay Mascis and Dinosaur Jr. They are notorious for hating interviews. They're notorious for hating each other. And they typically do not like to give interviews. I remember when they first got back together in 2004, and I got tickets to go see them. I was so stoked. I never thought Dinosaur Jr. would tour again. So I was just geeked out beyond comprehension that I got to go see them, and they were phenomenal. I've seen them 2 times since because they kind of got back together, at least as much as they can. For anyone that's not a Dinosaur Jr. fan, they're a 3-piece, very brilliant indie alternative rock band from the late 80s and 90s. They're not fans of each other, and if you really want to see that immortalized in text, I recommend the book Our Band Could Be Your Life by Michael Lazarat. But so they got back together in 2004, and I heard their first interview in a long time. They were doing an interview with this internet-based radio station called Woxie, which I'm not sure if it's still around or not. But they did an interview with them, and the first question they asked was, they go, so what's the hardest part about being in a band? And I think it was Jay, or it might have been Lou, and they just go, probably answering insipid interview questions. They go, probably answering insipid interview questions. And the interview was just totally downhill from there. That was just, that was harsh. They did not want to be there. They did not want to be around each other. It was obvious. And the interview went downhill from there. The interview was a train wreck. But Mark Maron, to his credit, got Jay Mascis and Lou, not in the same time because the interview's one-on-one, but he got both of those guys to really open up and really talk about stuff. And he is the only person, to my knowledge, that has been able to do that with Dinosaur. And I got to talk about that with him, actually. I talked about that with Mark Maron. I was like, look, man, you're the only person I've ever seen that's gotten either one of those guys to really just open up and give like a full, thorough interview. I don't know of anyone else that's pulled that off. And he was like, they're nice guys. You just gotta give them a second to warm up to them. And that's, that's all you gotta do. So anyway, Robert Smith is awesome. And I'd like to see Robert Smith on Mark Maron's podcast. And I know you guys are thinking, wow, Ron, that's not news. That's something we already knew. We already knew Robert Smith was awesome. Tell us something we might not know about on this Monday. Well, here's something you might not know about. Cory Booker says he and AIPAC president text message back and forth like teenagers. Question, is Rosario Dawson jealous? That's what we got to ask ourselves. Is she okay with this? And I cut myself shaving. I don't know if you can see the injury or not, but it's very visible on my end. I see it. It's awesome we went from The Cure to Cory Booker. That's kind of a bummer. It's like, this is something that gives me faith in humanity. This is something that really bums me out about humanity. Cory Booker. Ugh. I did a show about, it was a vegan show. So they had me on to talk about, as of recent, I've started doing a vegan diet, mainly for health reasons. And, so they wanted me on to talk about it, to tell my story, why I decided to try it, why I decided to keep going with it after the month was over, and how it compared to the other diets, similar to the segment we did on this show. So I talked about all that, and they didn't get to something they wanted to get to, which was Cory Booker. And when I saw the kind of agenda thing after we recorded, I was like, why was Cory Booker on the agenda? And the host goes, he's vegan and he's running for president. And I was like, he's a terrible candidate. And I was so bummed out we didn't get to talk about it. Because I just looked at her and I was like, please tell me you wouldn't vote for somebody just because they're a vegan. Which, that's very irresponsible. I don't care, what means a lot to you or what they are. To vote for somebody just based on that one issue, whether it's veganism or something similar, is wrong. It's just wrong. I can't even, that's wrong to do. I'm not here to vote or shame or tell you who to vote for. Vote for whoever you want or don't vote at all. But if you're going to just vote for somebody based on one single issue, that's, I think, wrong. I think that's very wrong to do. I'm not going to tell you can't do it. That's your choice. But, if you want to have it as a topic of discussion on a show, I'll tell you why I think that's grossly wrong. And I said that, I was like, he's a terrible candidate. She was like, really? I was like, yeah. And I explained all the reasons why. And I'm like, I really hope you're not going to endorse somebody just because they share dietary life choices with you. That's pretty irresponsible. I hope you wouldn't do that. And I would love to come back on and talk about Cory Booker. And in fairness to the host, she wasn't going to endorse him or anything like that. But I was like, look, I'd love to come on and tell you why that guy's a terrible candidate. I don't care if he's a vegan. I don't care if he's a paleo. I don't care what he puts in his body. That doesn't concern me at all. But he's a terrible candidate. So anyway, getting back to Cory Booker. Apparently, they text message back and forth. Okay, in a closed-door meeting with activists from the American Israel Public Affairs Committee on Tuesday, presidential candidate Cory Booker spoke about working closely with the organization and his desire to create a unified voice from Congress against the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions Movement, or BDS. BDS is protesting the Israeli government, by boycotting those businesses, which they have a right to do. Booker spoke to AIPAC members from New Jersey at the organization's annual policy conference, blah, 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 blah. Booker's remarks, some of which were reported by the Jerusalem Post, did not appear on a schedule of on-the-record events for journalists covering the conference. The Intercept obtained a 35-minute... Okay. So they text message back and forth like teenagers. Booker began his remarks by thanking AIPAC President Mort Friedman for his leadership and friendship, telling the crowd that he and Friedman talk often and text message back and forth like teenagers. All right. There you have it. This has been circulating around the internet for the past couple days. Is anyone surprised by this? I mean, Cory Booker is tight with AIPAC, and he is one of the Democrats that receives a lot of money from them. Matt Orfalea did a video where a lot of Ilhan Omar's colleagues have called her anti-Semitic for criticizing AIPAC. Which, as we've talked about many times over, that makes no sense whatsoever. Criticizing a lobbying group who has a ton of influence in politics because of the money they funnel into it, and they prop up a right-wing oppressive government in Israel. Criticizing that has nothing to do with anti-Semitism at all. It is miles away from anti-Semitism. The two things are completely unrelated. And criticizing the Israeli government anti-Semitism is a very irresponsible thing to do, because anti-Semitism is a very real thing, and it is a very dangerous thing. So to call something anti-Semitism that clearly isn't, that is not even remotely in the same ballpark, is a very dishonest and irresponsible thing to do, and that's putting it gently. But all of Ilhan Omar's colleagues did that. Not all of them, but a lot of them did that to her. Why did they do that to her? Well, because they get money from AIPAC. That's why. And Cory Booker is one of those people. So, and what's interesting is Ilhan Omar faced a lot of Islamophobic comments and a lot of Islamophobic hatred from the right, and her colleagues were silent on it. Her Democratic colleagues that are supposed to stand up against that stuff, they were silent on that. But if she criticizes AIPAC, a valid criticism of AIPAC, ooh, they were loud. They were loud at coming down on her then. Islamophobic comments, Stuart, that, no big deal. There's nobody from those interests are lining their pockets, I guess. I guess that's what that is. So there you go. There's another bromance. Cory Booker, president from AIPAC. I wonder if Rosario Dawson's pulling Cory Booker to the left a little bit. I don't know. It's tough to say. I wonder if he catches her like late at night and she's on the computer and he's like, "What are you looking at? Are you looking at Bernie's drug bill, the one that I opposed? That's what you're doing, aren't you? You're cheating. You're looking at that drug bill. I knew it." Like, he gets jealous and stuff like that. She looks at like, that'd be funny if Rosario Dawson is like volunteering for Bernie, doesn't want him to find out. Like, you have other redeeming qualities. If you were president, we wouldn't have any time together. Maybe that's what she's doing. Maybe that's what Rosario Dawson is doing. She is trying to pull Cory Booker away from the presidency by saying, "Look, man, I want to spend time with you. And if you're president, we're never going to have any time together. If you're serious about this relationship, you won't run." Maybe that's what she's doing, in which case, Rosario Dawson, you're a freaking hero. Because Cory Booker is one of the people they'd be willing to shove down our throats. So, good job, Rosario Dawson. We don't know that's not what she's doing. Maybe it's just genuine love. Maybe opposites attract, and I should stop being such a cranky fuck. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's like, you know what, Ron? They do have some differences politically, but they connect on other things, and maybe you got to lighten up a little bit. You might be right. You might be right. You know, me and my fiance, politics didn't come up right away. It came up relatively early on. And we realized it was something we connected on, that we were like-minded. It came up. We started dating right around the time the first Women's March was happening. She mentioned that she was going to that. And I was like, that's awesome. She mentioned she was a big Bernie supporter in the primary. This would have been, 2016 primary. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then we talked about other things like vinyl and stuff like that. She was like, I got Asbury Park, Greetings from Asbury Park on vinyl. And my response in my head was, I'm marrying this girl. That's how it happened. So anyway, yeah, there you go. There's a relationship Cory Booker has. And, guys, so we've been following up on this story as much as we possibly can. What is going on with the Save the Internet bill? It passed the subcommittee. So what happens next? Here's an article to kind of summarize what's happening next with the Save the Internet bill, which, of course, we will be covering very often. Does the Dem-backed Save the Internet Act stand a chance? All right, so the attempt to restore Obama-era internet protections, known as net neutrality, passed the House Subcommittee on Communications and Technology, but partisan divisions will almost certainly catch up. All right. So here's what happened. The Democrats Save the Internet Act, which would restore former net neutrality rules, passed the House Subcommittee on Communications and Technology. This is from a little bit ago. But we remember when it passed. We covered this on the show. So this means the bill will now head to a full Energy and Commerce Committee markup and vote before heading to the House floor. So it's going to head to the full Energy and Commerce Committee first. Then it's going to head to the House. The bill restores the FCC's 2015 Open Internet Order, which uses Title II of the 1934 Communications Act. So basically, this bill brings us back to the Obama-era net neutrality protections, which is that something that was unique to Obama? No. Those were the net neutrality protections we've always had assumed since the advent of net neutrality. We got it solidified on the books in 2015. The cable companies went after it, and with the Ajit Pai FCC, they were able to roll those back. So what the bill does, the bill is only 3 pages long, and the bill just says, hey, we're going back to that net neutrality we got on the books in 2015. We got it right then. We're not going to fuck it up. We're going back. I'm pretty sure we're not going to fuck it up. It's not in the official text of the bill. In fact, I'm positive on that one because I did read it, but it could be. I don't see why not. So that's what the bill does. Now, and by the way, a clean bill did pass because there were just a few attempts to throw in a few shitty amendments in there. They got shot down. So a clean bill passed. Republicans are against this. They're against Title II. Why are they against Title II? Because Title II is what actually protects net neutrality. Without Title II, net neutrality is not safe. So that's why Republicans are against Title II. We've talked about this many times on the show, but in case you're newer to this issue, all you really need to know, if we got Title II, we got net neutrality. We don't got Title II, we don't got net neutrality. Because Title II is a designation by the FCC that makes the internet a common carrier. It has to flow like running water. It's a telecommunications service. It's something essential to our lives. Title I is where they categorize television, cable television, and radio. You see what happened to those mediums. You see how that got homogenized and corporatized. So if it's Title I, internet service providers are going to make our internet look like cable television 2.0. Hey, independent media is going to load slower. Corporate media is going to load faster. There's fast lanes and slow lanes. There's priority. There's extra bundles you can get. You want to access Twitter? That's an extra $30 a month. We can do this now. That's what happens without Title II. All right, so this article speculates what will happen. So Republicans are vehemently against Title II. Some Democrats are too, unfortunately. So it brings up how Republicans tried to add some amendments, and it all got shot down. So here's what they think is going to happen after it goes through this other committee, which it will probably get through the other committee. The current House bill may pass the House, but I don't think it has a chance in the Senate. Democrats know this is good messaging for them. Nobody likes their ISP, so they can say, we'll protect you. Okay. So that's basically where it's at. It goes to a full House committee. at full House committee. Danny Tanner's going to be there. Joey's going to be there. And when they try to propose a shitty amendment for net neutrality, Joey's going to be like, no, we want net neutrality. Cut it out. And that's what's going to happen in the full House committee. So we got the full House committee. And then we have the House, which has less integrity than the full House committee, with the exception to what Aunt Becky did recently. Aunt Becky, make your kids get into college on their own merit, Aunt Becky, all right? Not cool. But you know. So it goes to the cast of Full House. Then it goes to the House. And it will likely, it has a chance to get through the House. It will likely be shot down by the Senate because the Senate is Republican controlled. But that forces a very bad look on Trump and the Republicans. And in the meantime, this helps preserve net neutrality. Another thing people don't realize, because this is being battled out in Congress, because this is being battled out in the courts, we have not seen the effects of losing net neutrality. People are like, well, we don't have net neutrality and the internet's fine. Derp, 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 derp. Yeah, that's because of people fighting at the local level and the state level and the federal level. You haven't seen the effects of losing net neutrality yet because here in California, for instance, they're battling it out in the courts right now. That's why when Ajit Pai said, hey, the loss of net neutrality will bring about jobs, he was only right in one, for instance. It brought about a lot of work for attorneys because they're battling this shit out in states all across the country. So we haven't seen the effects of net neutrality yet because the ISPs, their hands have been tied. They can't do anything. They can't unroll legislation that they'll just have to roll back. They would lose money if they did that, so they're not going to do it. Furthermore, if New York and California get strong net neutrality protections, that's about 43% of the customer base throughout the country. So you're not going to unroll some kind of package that doesn't follow net neutrality that you're going to impose on consumers if you can't impose it on about half the country or nearly half the country. It's not quite half the country, but you see what I'm saying. So by fighting for net neutrality protections, you're stopping the ISPs, the internet service providers, the AT&Ts, the Comcast, from doing anything to violate net neutrality. So we're holding the front line. We'll see what happens here. But we will be covering the full committee. We'll be covering the House. Because you know that's an issue near and dear to my heart. And what is the permanent fix for net neutrality? Municipal broadband all across the country. I'm fighting for it here in Pasadena. Other people are fighting for it across the country. And that's what needs to happen. We need to take the internet out of the corporations' hands and into the hands of our cities. And we need to have city-run and owned internet or internet co-op run by citizens. Both are happening. Both are spreading nationwide, and that needs to continue. And that's something you can do right in your backyard. Please visit my playlist on net neutrality and muni broadband. It's a playlist on my channel if you want to learn more about that issue. I'll go to you guys, and that's how we're ending the show today. Thank you very much for your patience, by the way. I know we were a little late, and I apologize for that. So what are you guys saying? Nobody in Indiana government is fighting for net neutrality, says Chris. Well, you got to start it. Start it right in your backyard, Chris. It ain't easy, but that's what's got to happen. DC, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. And DC recommends, please donate at least $1 to get Tulsi Gabbard on the DNC debate stage. She needs about 8,000 more unique donors to get there. And Tulsi 2020 is the website you go to for that. So if you want to do that, please do consider it. You know, full disclaimer, I have donated to Tulsi Gabbard. I've donated to both Tulsi and Bernie. And I do think it's important that Tulsi Gabbard is on the debate stage. Whether you like Tulsi Gabbard or not, she is an anti-war voice. And getting anti-war voices on the debate stage is important because they try to get anti-war voices off as quickly as they can. Thank Donald Trump. Adam Schiff is vegan as well. I did not know that, but again, goes to show, just because someone's vegan, that doesn't mean you should support them. Adam Schiff is a grifter who is, in my opinion, among the most dishonest of the dishonest because he has used the Trump administration to boost his own political celebrity. He has used Russiagate to boost his own political celebrity. He doesn't really give a hoot about opposing Trump. He doesn't really give a hoot about Russiagate. He is just a failed actor looking for his 15 minutes of fame, and he has milked this thing so much. Andy Warhol has come back from the dead just to tell him, hey, Adam, your 15 minutes are up. He is a corporatist. He stands for absolutely nothing other than his own celebrity. That's why when a bunch of his Republican colleagues were telling him to back down, how did he respond? He asked for your money. What the fuck does he need money for? His colleagues are giving him shit. You're in politics. Colleagues give you shit all the time, Adam. What do you need money for? What do you need money for, Adam? Did anyone ask, why do you need money right now? And I know there's a lot of people that don't see through Adam Schiff. I know there's a lot of people, and I'm like, this guy's a phony and a grifter. They're like, no, he's genuinely trying to oppose Trump. No, he isn't. Because if he was, he would actually stand for policies that might connect with people that will oppose Trump. He doesn't. He stands for nothing because his donors wouldn't want it to be different. He's just using Russiagate to inflate his own pockets and inflate his own political celebrity. And it's worked for him. It's worked for him. That guy is a freaking phony. Diana, thank you for the compliment on my t-shirts. So anyway. Ron, do gingers have souls? I got some soul. It is right next to the Beatles record and right next to the copy of Jethro Tull's Benefit that I got for a good price. I do have some soul. And that's a joke from High Fidelity. I can't take credit there. Spot on, Ron, says Daniel. Thank you. Let's see here. Centrism is right wing. It sure is. Let's see. Some of you guys are mentioning Joe Biden. I'm hoping he doesn't run. Third way is centrism. That's putting it gently. Jennifer says Adam Schiff sold his soul for donor money. Diana says, I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier. Let's see. Has Ron pulled an April Fool's joke on us yet? I told you guys, I'm older. I don't do it anymore. I've lost my edge when it comes to April Fools, and I've lost my edge when it's come to Halloween. I've lost my edge when it's come to both those things. I'm not proud of this. And, saying you're getting older is no freaking excuse. As my buddy Tim Carroll says, who's also an amazing musician, check out his music, Tim Carroll. You can just go ahead and Google that, and you'll find his stuff. He has a beautiful song, You Can't Stay Young, but You Can Stay Cool. So I've lost my edge with April Fools. I've lost my edge with Halloween, and there's no excuse for it. I got to get it back, quite frankly, because as Tim Carroll says, you can't stay young, but you can stay cool. Guys, we are out of time. Thank you for your patience today. I know I was a little late. I apologize for that. I had an issue. Yeah, it's no big deal. I guess I can just tell you guys what it was. But I thought I saw something weird on my credit card. Like I was paying my credit card because I pay my credit card on the 1st every month, and I saw something that looked weird. Turns out it wasn't weird. It just, yeah. So anyway, I had to call because I was worried that it was a fraudulent thing, and it wasn't, but it looked weird. Yeah, that's pretty lame story, huh? But anyway, that happened this morning. That's why I was late. I was on the phone with my bank, which took a minute, or the credit card company rather. It took a minute, and so yeah. So I appreciate your all's patience. Thank you very much. Tour dates, I got them, guys. Texas, I'm coming next month. Me and Graham Elwood are coming for the Progressive Comedy Tour, April 12th through 15th. Fort Worth, San Antonio, Houston, Austin. Get your tickets. Don't wait. Grab those tickets. Thank you very much. Felix, Ron, your response to Brian Kresenstein is legend. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. And Farhead, I can't wait to see you in Fort Worth. That's awesome. Guys, also in May 1st, I'm going to be in Indianapolis. Grab those tickets for Indianapolis. That's just me. Also, April 19th, I got a house show in Boulder Creek, California. If you're in that area, message me. I'll let you know how to attend. That's going to be an awesome house show that Slow News Day is producing. So that's going to be fun. May 11th through 13th, Graham Elwood and I are going to be in Salt Lake City and Boise. And then, guys, in June, we're coming to the East Coast. East Coast, we're coming to Baltimore, we're coming to D.C., we're coming to Boston, we're coming to New York City, we're coming to Philly. Tickets available at ronplacone.com. And July 27th, Vegas, baby! Graham Elwood and I are coming back to Vegas for the Progressive Comedy Tour. We had a wonderful show there the first time. We're coming back July 27th, Vegas. Mark your calendars. You guys are awesome. So tomorrow, I am guest hosting Aggressive Progressives. So we won't have a show tomorrow because I got to go guest host Aggressive Progressives. Please do tune in. Check that show out over on the Young Turks. I'll be back Wednesday here, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. You know the drill. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated news show. If you can support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron for a give what you can level, and meaning you can give any level you want. You get all the same stuff. You get a bunch of stand-up clips. You get a bunch of exclusive content, and you help keep this show on the air. You help me do additional streams. I want to do more with this show, but I do need your all's help to get there, to bring it to a sustainable level. So thank you guys so much for being part of this. You guys are the best. This has been Get Your News On with Ron. We'll be back on Wednesday. Tune in to Aggressive Progressives tomorrow, and I'll see you all Wednesday. Happy Music Monday. Peace.